Ryan Malcolm, the co-founder of Tourismo, and Ryan, you also do business development there. So why don't we start off with a little bit of why don't you properly introduce yourself and Tourismo and tell us what you're all about?
First, Ryan Malcolm, Director of Business Development with Tourismo. We're a product technology product that has really been developed to create systemic change within the tourism industry and rise the tides for all ships. We were originally formed from an agency, so we come with about 21 years now of experience in tourism marketing, and we took our learnings that we applied from there and how we could use technology to solve problems. Because this is effectively, as an agency, everyone comes to us with the problems that we have to solve, and we were seeing the same problems coming up time and time and time again, and figured that there must be a systemic way to fix that and use technology to innovate and create new growth and opportunities. So that's where we've taken Tourismo, and it's in kind of all veins of content creation and audience engagement and analytics, and it's enterprise kind of level tourism technology.
Fantastic, yeah. So why don't you, do you have any sort of specific kind of examples you can give me of kind of maybe where your technology is solving some?
Tons, yeah. So really what we found with Tourismo is that at its core, it's a platform for being able to share authentic stories and experiences and engage with audiences that allows the whole communities to come together, or collaborators, doesn't have to be communities, to come together. So where we're really seeing a lot of success with Tourismo is around corridors or tourism sectors or regions that represent multiple communities and are sharing and collaborating on one story. Yeah. So exact examples, Highway BC, Save Alberta South, the BC Hill Trail, Paddle BC.
Nice, awesome. So let's talk about AI a little bit. Maybe let's start off with your personal AI journey, kind of where it started, where you're at, how you're feeling about the whole world.
So it's funny. I was really reticent at the beginning of AI. You know when you get deeply uncomfortable and you can't name it? That's how I. But I realized that that is actually a very Canadian response to any change. You know, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation that's been happening in the air lately around how Canada needs to invest in itself and innovate and advance, and how we're historically not very good at doing it. We're a little bit more conservative and slow to move on that. Not conservative in the social sense, conservative in that like held back sense. And I think it was a gut check for myself to be like, why am I resisting this? And so I started to dabble and I started to lean in, and I played with ChatGPT at first and just ask the questions and use it. I've always liked writing, so for me, I used it less on generative, more on defining, and it immediately added productivity to my life. And so that really started my journey to explore more users and iterate on ways that we can solve really complex challenges. And then within Tourismo, we've taken the approach of starting using AI not on the front end and not on the consumer end right to begin with, but where we've been using it is for content creation and suggestion for new listings, regions, and events. So what we call our AI magic. So you can spice a little magic into your platform. And so what we're seeing is we're training our AI models on our clients' data sets, learning from their stories, and then from there, using their language, AI can be directed to create a business for a community that their burger restaurant, and having our AI model be able to create that listing, grab their Google Place information, be able to grab some short and long descriptions, their media files that our AI is then tagging, meta tagging. And so for our digital asset management, being able to search, sort, and filter based on that is massive time saver in and of itself. And from there, it's just suggestions. Everything has to still be approved at this point. You can set to auto approve, but generally what we would recommend is it comes up with the list, and then from there you can refine, edit, or approve, and it's massively streamlined content creation. One of the things we always hear in tourism is, I don't have capacity. Everyone's a small team. And so to be able to lighten that lift has been a massive opening.
Amazing, yeah. So do you guys, I'm curious because of what you're doing and kind of how you guys are positioned, is internal data management and data organization a big deal for you guys?
It is. At the end of the day, content management and data management is what Tourismo does. It's a data engine. So data is everything. data management, data organization is it's the foundation for the whole platform. We have all sorts of modules and feature sets that build off of that, but that's where it starts. And that comes from our learnings of working with so many different sectors in tourism marketing that need to, let's say it's the BC Ale Trail. BC Ale Trail is producing a new ale trail on the Sunshine Coast. They need to make a listing for a hotel and bar. That listing probably already exists on Sunshine Coast's website. It might also exist on Paddle BC's website. It's probably out there in multiple places. It is a nightmare to manage all of those different data sets. So one of the foundational pieces of Tourismo has been the content ecosystem and being able to have one data set that rules them all. That Tourism Sunshine Coast can log in, they can access that one data, that one data type, and it will reflect in 7 different websites.
So it's one kind of area where they can kind of clean it up, and then it can kind of spread it across all of the assets and all of the places. That's amazing, actually. That's a great value add for the industry. And so I think you may have answered this question, but I'm curious specifically, what's your perception of the state of data management in the tourism industry today?
As it stands currently, it's a bit of a hot mess.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. But that's a part of what you guys do is sort of help that out, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a huge pain point for people, not just because of digital literacy, and that's part of it. Everyone could establish some best practices, become more digitally aware on how to manage that data. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're thinking about new initiatives and new ways to collaborate, that might not work within the confines of your current data system, especially with some of, I'm not going to name names, but some of the other softwares and SaaS products that are available within tourism. They really put up walls and these moats that don't allow you to share that data, and that's a real blocker for collaboration.
It really is, and it doesn't serve the purpose, or it doesn't serve the industry. It doesn't serve the client. It doesn't actually help anybody. So it's awesome that you guys are doing what you're doing. I think it's a really valuable service. So tell me a little bit about kind of, obviously you guys are sounds like heavy in terms of the AI space, in terms of what your platform actually does. Is there more plans? Do you have a roadmap? And how do you guys approach kind of, I guess, AI or technology in general in terms of sort of move forward?
Yeah, so this is a prescient topic because we definitely, Turismo is a very well developed platform with a lot of different features, but we have to rank and weigh where we go next, what we develop next, and we look at a lot of different factors for that. We know that AI is fast moving. These AI chatbots and recommendation engines is the adoption is crazy right now. I mean, you see it every day. So we've been looking at a lot of those, and we've been looking at our own data and what we're able to train our AI on. And we're saying, well, we can create a recommendation engine based on this data set, sharing these authentic stories and being able to actually tap into, not just your TripAdvisor and your Expedia information, but like real information
From the
organization, from the communities, from the collaborators. And so that's where we're going. I think we're going to be launching a recommendation engine of our own Q3, so likely June. We'll be moving forward with that. Yeah, that's every day there's new advancements and there's new ways that we're going to leverage it. But
you're already getting to my next question, which is like I'm finding, and I'm sure you're finding too. It's like building a technology roadmap, fast moving pace world that we're in is not easy. Tell me a little bit about kind of, I guess, how you guys do that. How do you manage that?
you need to be, you have to be able to adapt and move. You have to have a vision, but you can't have preconceived notions. You have to be open to that, what I was mentioning earlier, that uncomfortable feeling in your stomach. I think that's actually a sign that we're on the right path. And so every time I encounter that, something new, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know. Like, oh, that's a sign that I should probably be looking at this further. And we're looking at that we're looking at the other AI models that are out there and what's working and what's not. And we know as well, as much as it's valuable for users, it's also invaluable for destinations and for sectors who want to know what's being asked. They want to know what the users are asking for, and like what are these driving motivations. And so I think there's a lot of insights that can be earned.
Yeah, and is that part of what your platform does today, or is that part of what you kind of hope your platform will do?
Right now, through engagement tools, so we do a lot of apps in addition to web platforms, and within that we've got user accounts. Those user accounts have the ability to check in at locations So we use some GIS, and that allows us to see actual, visitation. And so we're getting some data from that. We can apply a certain amount of monetary attribution to figure out kind of from an economic impact perspective. But we're also really leaning into surveys and statements of intent. So we do have a lot of form and survey and quiz technology in the platform, and we're using that quite a bit. So we did one with Paddle BC. It was excellent. We did a contest where Paddle BC offered up a few different experiences that if you filled out this quiz, you had the opportunity to earn, and it was to define your paddler profile. So it asks you questions. Do you want to paddle calm waters on a paddleboard? Are you a whitewater rafter? Are you a portage canoer? What areas are you interested in going to? What level of experience are you at? Would you consider a guided trip? What kind of accommodation do you want? From that, we're earning insights that we're able to then take to destinations and say, hey, how BC's audience? There are 30 people who want to go to Tofino and learn to paddleboard, and we're able to pass on actual information to create an amazing experience. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that is now 30 people who took a quiz, entered in to win, but now we'll have Destination Tofino reach out to be like, you're interested in this.
Oh, that's amazing. Actually, I think that's a really valuable thing. I'm curious about your users or the tourism destinations and so the various stakeholders you work with. What is the conversation around data, data protection, data privacy? Is that a concern that they raise when you're sort of talking to them about that?
Absolutely, and we're really cognizant of that. First party information it's the holy grail for tourism, but it's also to be protected, and so that is a real thing. We it's up to our licensees how they want to use that data that they're collecting. That's not for Tourismo to decide. We'll keep it in a safe house. We'll keep it, absolutely protected. But if they've got numbers that they're putting out to their users that said like, hey, we can pass on this information, that is up to them. Where we stand right now is we don't share any of that information publicly at all, but we do look at some washed third party. Just to say this is how many people checked into this place. We look at those kind of larger trend data that's been washed as that first party.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. On the topic of larger trend data, I guess kind of where do you see things going from the perspective of you know the world's changed in terms of people search, the way people interact online, the way they look for information. It's getting more complicated, I guess. But at the same time, maybe it's getting simpler in the sense that maybe you have like we just talked about right before this podcast, deep research, for example. So maybe I'll do a deep research project and it'll pull 100 websites for me or 100 sources for me. And now I got one source, right? So I guess kind of now this is a question on the consumer side of things. Are you noticing sort of changes and trends on the
100%, 100%. And we're a small team, so we don't invest in research in that same lens, but we're absolutely aware of the research that is being put out. One thing that we've kept an eye on quite a bit is the change in SEO more towards using AI for recommendation, as well as social search. Social search is huge. And that to me makes a lot of sense because this is people getting back to community and wanting real referrals and real stories to identify where to go. It's the rise in influencers as well, right? And so Turismo has been at the forefront of that in the sense that our goal is to share authentic stories. And it's a platform designed to do that. This is real people putting in real information. It can leverage AI to take some of that information from their existing domains, absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's actual authentic storytelling that tells that taste that place story, and that's where we're seeing people gravitate towards. It's that first person narratives particularly. We're finding a real downturn in third person prescriptive. So like that, here's the travel guide from wherever. This is what you should do. And people look at that and they think it's interesting and they might like, oh, there's a neat place listed here. But if you've got the founder of a Arctic spa company who's putting out their health and wellness itinerary for a community, there's a lot more gravitas in that recommendation.
Yeah, yeah. So what you're talking about, which actually my marketing agency is completely right now in the process of transitioning 100% to, is digital PR, right? So really digital storytelling, and now the AI is really just a tool that actually enables that in ways that are never possible before, right? So an example is actually this podcast. We're going to be doing this with Riverside FM, and we can quickly turn it into shorts. We can quickly turn it into all kinds of right? That wasn't possible. I mean, it was possible, but it took a lot more work before. And so, these tools, like I think, kind of what I'm trying to get to with all of this is, people are afraid of AI, but at the end of the day, this is just a tool like any other tool, and it's an enabler. And honestly, like in tourism, everybody's overworked. There's not enough people. Actually, platforms like Tourismo, tools like these different tools that we're talking about can actually really move the ball forward. Right. So what's interesting about what you guys are doing is that, at the end of the day, when you think about SEO and content marketing, we can geek out a little bit about this, is, you know, what kind of content is going to work in 2025 and beyond is like content that AI can't reproduce. And what kind of content can AI not reproduce? Human, right? Talking.
I mean, Google Notebook.
I say that with some caveats. But like, but people, I think, will actually crave more real humans and more real connection.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. It's just if we can make our lives to the point that everybody can work from the beach.
I know. It's funny that you say that. So my goal is like, can I work while I'm hiking up a mountain? If I could do that, I've like succeeded in life. Life is good. Yeah, yeah. And I think actually AI can get us there. So yeah, nice, awesome. Well, is there if you could wave one magic wand to like solve one problem with AI in your life, in your work, what would it be?
One magic wand to wave a problem with AI in life and work. I would say we still suffer from some level of hallucination. It doesn't keep trust at 100%. And so if I could get trust to 100%, that
It would, yeah. That's true. For a lot of people, actually, yeah. That's very nice. Awesome. Well, hey, chatting. Awesome. That was fantastic.